The conference room fell silent as Emma's heels clicked against the hardwood floor. My hands trembled as I tried to gather the scattered papers, knowing what was coming. 20 pairs of eyes fixed on me, and I could feel the pity radiating from my colleagues. This level of incompetence is unacceptable. Emma's voice cut through the silence. Phoebe, you've embarrassed not only yourself but our entire firm. I'm Phoebe, the younger Morrison sister, though sometimes I wonder if Emma and I truly share the same blood. Where she got the sharp angles and steel spine, I inherited our mother's soft features and, according to Emma, her tendency to dream rather than do. I can explain, I started, but Emma held up her hand. The Phillips case required basic due diligence. Instead, you missed a filing deadline that could have cost us everything. Her voice remained eerily calm. Fortunately, Omar caught your mistake before it became irreversible. Omar, standing near the door, offered a slight nod. Was that sympathy in his eyes? Hard to tell with the corporate sharks. Emma, it was one mistake, Nicole whispered from beside me. Everyone makes silence. Emma's command froze the room. Phoebe, clear out your desk. You're terminated, effective immediately. The words hit like a physical blow. 6 years of working under my sister's shadow, trying to prove myself, ended in this moment of public humiliation. You can't just, I started. I can, and I am. Security will escort you out. I stood, my chair scraping against the floor. Our parents would be ashamed of you. The words escaped before I could stop them. Emma's face hardened, but something flickered in her eyes. Pain, maybe? It vanished so quickly I might have imagined it. Our parents aren't here, she said coldly, and their absence doesn't excuse mediocrity. I grabbed my laptop and walked out, head high despite the tears threatening to spill. Nicole caught up with me at my desk. This is wrong, she said, helping me pack. She's your sister, for God's sake. I laughed bitterly. Sister? Emma stopped being my sister the day our parents died. She became my boss, my landlord, my keeper, everything except family. What will you do? Honestly, I have no idea. I shoved photos into my box, including one of Emma and me at my college graduation. We were smiling then, real smiles, not the corporate masks we wore now. She controls everything, my job, my apartment, even my inheritance. Security appeared at my desk, and Nicole squeezed my hand. Call me later, okay? The walk of shame through the office felt endless. Whispers followed me to the elevator. As the doors closed, I caught one last glimpse of Emma watching from her office, phone already to her ear, probably calling her next meeting to order. Outside, the spring air hit my face, and I finally let the tears fall. My phone buzzed, a text from Emma. Rent's due on the 1st. Don't be late. I sat on a nearby bench, watching people stream in and out of the towering office building. How had we ended up here? After the car accident that took our parents 3 years ago, Emma took control of everything. The family estate, the trust funds, even my career path. I'm protecting you, she'd said. You need guidance. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was the failure she thought I was. But sitting there, something sparked inside me, a tiny flame of rebellion, of anger. My phone buzzed again. This time, an unknown number. Ms. Morrison, this is James Patterson from Riverside Legal Services. We're executing the will of your Aunt Riley Owens. Please contact us at your earliest convenience regarding your inheritance. Aunt Riley? I barely remembered her. Mom's eccentric sister who disappeared to Europe when I was young. But inheritance? A third buzz. Emma again. Dinner meeting tonight, 7 p.m. We need to discuss your future options. I stared at the messages, then at the building where my sister still ruled her kingdom. For the first time in years, I hit decline on Emma's invitation. No, I whispered to myself. Not this time. I stood up, grabbed my box of belongings, and started walking. Emma had always said I was too soft, too willing to bend. Well, even the softest materials can become steel under enough pressure. My phone kept buzzing, but I didn't look at it again. Instead, I called the number from Riverside Legal Services. Whatever Aunt Riley had left me, it was mine. Not Emma's, not the firm's, but mine. As I walked away from the building that had been my prison for 6 years, I felt something I hadn't experienced since our parents died. hope. Emma might have taken my job, controlled my life, and tried to break my spirit, but she'd forgotten one thing. I was a Morrison too. And Morrisons don't break easily. The law office of Riverside Legal Services was only 15 blocks away. I started walking, leaving my old life behind with each step. James Patterson's office looked nothing like the sleek corporate environment I'd left behind. Cramped bookshelves lined the walls, and his desk was buried under stacks of papers. He adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses as he read through Aunt Riley's will. "Your aunt was quite specific about her wishes," he said, pulling out a thick envelope. "The house on Maple Street, along with its contents and a modest trust fund, goes to you." Maple Street? My heart stopped. That's where I live. Yes, the Victorian 3-story at 1247 Maple. He slid a photo across the desk, the same house Emma had been collecting rent from me for the past 3 years. There must be some mistake. I grabbed the photo with trembling hands. "My sister Emma manages all our family properties." James shook his head. "This property was never part of your parents' estate. Your aunt purchased it 20 years ago. She left explicit instructions that you, and only you, were to inherit it upon her death." The room spun. All those rent checks, all those threats about late payments. "When did my aunt die?" I whispered. 3 years ago." He checked his notes. "The executor of her will tried contacting you multiple times, but your sister informed us you were unavailable due to a family tragedy." 3 years, right when our parents died, right when Emma took control. My phone buzzed again. Emma's 15th call since this morning. I declined it. "What happens now?" I asked. "The house is yours, free and clear. Here are the deed and keys." He pushed them across the desk. "The trust fund provides for maintenance and property taxes. It's not a fortune, but it's enough to maintain the house and provide some security." I left his office in a daze, clutching the documents. On the street, I nearly collided with Logan, my childhood friend who lived down the block. "Phoebe, are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I showed him the papers. His eyes widened as he read. "Holy shit," he whispered. "Emma's been charging you rent for a house you own?" "Apparently." "That's fraud, Phoebe, like actual criminal fraud." My phone buzzed again. This time I answered. "Where are you?" Emma demanded. "We need to discuss your situation." "My situation?" I felt a strange calm settle over me. "You mean how you've been collecting rent on a house I own?" Silence on the other end. Then, "Who have you been talking to?" "Aunt Riley's lawyer. Interesting timing, isn't it? Right after our parents died, when you took control of everything? Come to my office. Now, we need to handle this privately." "No." The word felt foreign, but good. "I'm done with private family discussions that somehow always end with you in control." "Phoebe, you're being dramatic. I was protecting you." "By stealing from me?" Logan touched my arm, pointing to a cafe across the street. I nodded and started walking. "It wasn't stealing," Emma said. "I was managing your assets. Assets I didn't know I had. We'll discuss this later, with lawyers present." I hung up as Logan and I entered the cafe. My phone immediately lit up with texts. "Don't do anything rash. Think about your career. You need me." Logan ordered us coffee and listened as I explained everything. "What are you going to do?" he asked. "I don't know." I stared into my coffee. "Part of me wants to press charges." "But she's your sister." "Is she? Because sisters don't do this to each other." My phone buzzed with a new message, this time from Nicole. "Emma's going ballistic. Half the office heard her screaming at Omar about some house. What's going on?" I showed Logan the text. He grinned. "Sounds like the queen's losing control of her kingdom." "Maybe." I took a deep breath. "But I need to be smart about this. Emma's still got connections, power, and you've got proof of fraud," Logan countered. "Plus, I'm guessing there are people at that firm who'd love to see her fall." He was right. I thought about Omar's sympathetic look, Nicole's quiet support, all the others who'd suffered under Emma's reign. My phone buzzed again, an email from James Patterson. "Ms. Morrison, given the circumstances, I feel compelled to mention that your aunt left additional documentation regarding your sister's actions. Please contact me if you wish to discuss." I showed Logan the email. His eyebrows shot up. "Looks like Aunt Riley knew exactly what she was doing." I nodded slowly, a plan forming in my mind. Emma always said I was too soft to succeed in law. And maybe it's time to show her that kindness and weakness aren't the same thing. I stood up, suddenly energized. I need to make some calls, starting with Nicole. Logan smiled. The student becomes the master? No, I said, gathering my things. Just a sister who's finally standing up for herself. As I left the cafe, I felt lighter than I had in years. Emma had taught me everything she knew about law, control, and power. Now it was time to show her what I'd learned about justice. You want to do what? Nicole stared at me across my kitchen table, her coffee forgotten. Turn the house into a legal aid center, I repeated. The first floor has enough space for offices, and I can live upstairs. And you want me to leave Emma's firm to join you? She laughed, but I could see the interest in her eyes. You've seen how many people get turned away because they can't afford Emma's rates. We could help them. Nicole leaned forward. This isn't just about helping people, is it? No, I admitted. But wanting revenge doesn't mean we can't do good along the way. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through her contacts. I know at least 3 paralegals who'd jump ship immediately, and... She hesitated. What? There's this guy, Damien. He runs a small practice focused on tenant rights. He's been looking for partners. My doorbell rang before I could respond. Through the window, I saw Emma standing on my porch. Our porch, I reminded myself. Back door, I whispered to Nicole. Text me later. She slipped out just as Emma started pounding on the front door. I took my time answering it. Finally, Emma pushed past me. We need to talk about this ridiculous idea of yours. Which one? The legal aid center or pressing charges for fraud? She spun around. Is that what this is about? Money? Fine. Name your price. It's not about money. I crossed my arms. It's about you lying to me for 3 years. I was protecting our family's reputation. You weren't ready. To know I owned a house? To make my own decisions? When exactly was I going to be ready, Emma? She paced the room, her designer heels clicking on the hardwood floors. You don't understand what it takes to succeed in this world. I've spent years building our reputation. Your reputation, I corrected, and now you're worried I'll ruin it. She stopped pacing. What do you want? I want you to leave. This is my house, and you're trespassing. Don't be childish. Security cameras, I pointed to the corners of the room, installed this morning. Would you like me to call the police? She left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. I waited until her car disappeared before calling Nicole. Coast is clear. Tell me about Damien. 2 weeks later, the sign went up. Morrison Community Legal Services. Nicole and 4 other former employees from Emma's firm had joined us. Damien brought his existing clients and an energy that made even the longest days feel manageable. We've got 10 new cases this week, he announced during our morning meeting. 3 evictions, 2 workplace discrimination, and 5 family court matters. Any conflicts with Emma's firm? I asked. Not yet, but... He hesitated. Word is she's losing clients. The Phillips case you supposedly botched? They switched to us yesterday. Nicole touched my arm. There's something else you should know. She lowered her voice. We have a mole in Emma's firm. What? Omar's been feeding us information. Apparently, he's not happy with how Emma's running things. I remembered Omar's sympathetic look the day I was fired. Why would he help us? Because, a voice said from the doorway, your sister's empire is built on sand. Omar stood there, looking decidedly less polished than usual in jeans and a casual shirt. Nice sign, he said, walking in. Mind if we talk privately? In my office, he got straight to the point. Emma's been cutting corners for years. Nothing illegal exactly, but ethical gray areas. The partners are nervous. Why tell me this? Because you're offering something we've forgotten about. Actual justice. He handed me a flash drive. Client lists, billing records, internal memos. Use it however you want. After he left, Damien found me still staring at the drive. You okay? I wanted to hurt Emma, I said, but this could destroy her. He sat across from me. Then don't use it to destroy her. Use it to help people. I looked up at him, struck by the warmth in his eyes. Is that what you'd do? I think you already know what you want to do. He smiled. The question is whether you're ready to do it. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Heard about your little project. Hope you know what you're doing. I showed Damien the message. She's not going to make this easy. Good things rarely are. He stood up. Come on, we've got clients waiting. In the reception area, a young mother sat clutching eviction papers. Her eyes held the same fear I'd felt under Emma's control. Hi, I said, sitting beside her. I'm Phoebe, and I'm going to help you. For the first time since starting this, I felt completely certain. Emma had taught me that power comes from making others feel small. But watching this woman's relief as we reviewed her case, I realized there was another kind of power, the kind that comes from helping others stand tall. The local news crew packed up their equipment as Nicole handed me a coffee. That went well, she said. A feature story on community legal services? Emma must be fuming. She hasn't responded to my texts in weeks, I said, straightening the papers on my desk. The interview had highlighted our recent victories: 3 prevented evictions, 2 workplace discrimination settlements, and a growing waitlist of clients. My phone buzzed. Omar again. These calls were becoming more frequent. Meet me at Riverside Park, 30 minutes, important. Nicole read the message over my shoulder. Be careful. Emma might have figured out he's helping us. That's why we're meeting in public. I grabbed my coat. Hold my calls? The park was busy with lunch crowds, but I spotted Omar easily, pacing near the fountain. He looked nervous. Emma's planning something, he said without preamble. She called an emergency partner meeting this morning. About? Your aunt's estate. She's claiming you're mentally unfit to manage the inheritance. My stomach dropped. Can she do that? She's got 3 psychiatrists ready to testify about your history of emotional instability and poor decision-making. He ran a hand through his hair. She's going after guardianship. That's insane. I'm running a successful practice, which she'll paint as a manic episode. He lowered his voice. But I've got a proposition. Half the partners want her out. With your evidence of fraud and my insider testimony, you want to help stage a coup? Think about it. You get protection from her guardianship claims, and I get managing partner. Before I could respond, a familiar voice cut through the air. Well, isn't this cozy? Emma stood there, immaculate in her charcoal suit, 2 senior partners flanking her. Taking meetings in parks now, Omar? She smiled, all teeth. How unprofessional. Omar straightened. Just getting some air. With my sister, interesting choice of company. She turned to me. We filed the guardianship papers this morning. For your own good, of course. Of course, I matched her smile. Did you include the part about collecting rent on my property? A simple misunderstanding. I'm sure the judge will understand I was protecting you from yourself. She glanced at her watch. The hearing's next week. Do clean yourself up for court. After she left, Omar gripped my arm. We need to move fast. I can have the partners ready to vote by Friday. No, I pulled away. I'm not playing her game. This isn't a game, Phoebe. She'll destroy everything you've built. Maybe. I started walking. Or maybe it's time to show her exactly what I've built. Back at the office, Damien was waiting with a stack of files. Heard about the guardianship claim. We've got options. I know what I want to do. I sat down. Remember that mother we helped last month? The eviction case? Sarah? What about her? Call her. And the Thompson family, the Ramirez kids, everyone we've helped. I want them all at that hearing. He smiled slowly. Character witnesses? Better. Real people whose lives were changed because I was unstable enough to help them. Nicole burst in. You need to see this. She turned on the office TV where Emma was giving a press conference. As her older sister, I only want what's best for Phoebe, she was saying. Her recent behavior has raised concerns. Damien muted it. She's trying to control the narrative. Then let's change it. I picked up my phone. Remember that reporter from this morning? The next few days were a blur. While Emma painted me as unstable on every news outlet that would listen, we quietly gathered our witnesses. Damien worked late into the night, preparing statements and documentation. Omar called twice more, pushing his coup plan, but I didn't answer. The night before the hearing, I found Damien alone in the office. Why are you helping me? I asked. This could hurt your practice, too. He looked up from his papers. Because you reminded me why I became a lawyer. He stood, moving closer. And because you're the strongest person I know. I don't feel strong. I admitted. I'm terrified. Good. He smiled. Use it. Channel that fear into fighting for what's right. His hand found mine, warm and steady. For a moment, we stood there, the weight of tomorrow heavy between us. My phone buzzed. Emma, finally. Last chance. Drop this ridiculous legal aid project, come back to the firm, and I'll withdraw the guardianship petition. I showed Damien the message. What are you going to do? He asked. I typed my response. See you in court, sis. Looking up at Damien, I felt that same certainty from our first case. Emma thinks power means having control over others. Tomorrow I'm going to show her what real power looks like. He squeezed my hand. We all are. Outside my office, I could see our waiting room full of clients' photos, real people with real stories. Tomorrow, Emma would learn that her kind of power couldn't stand against the strength of truth and community. The community center bustled with activity as we set up for our legal aid workshop. Emma's guardianship hearing was in 3 days, but I refused to let it derail our work. Damien was explaining tenant rights to a packed room when Nicole nudged me. She's here, she whispered. Emma stood in the doorway, looking out of place in her designer suit. The room fell silent as she walked in, her heels echoing on the linoleum floor. Don't stop on my account, she said, taking a seat in the back. I'm just observing. Damien continued his presentation, but I could feel Emma's eyes boring into me. After the session, she cornered me by the water cooler. Quite the production, she said, though I notice you're not charging anyone. That's the point of legal aid, Emma. The point is, you're throwing away your education on lost causes. She lowered her voice. These people don't need free lawyers. They need to make better choices. Like I did? I met her gaze. Following you blindly, letting you control my life? I gave you everything. You took everything, I corrected. And now you're mad because I found my own path. Sarah, our former eviction client, approached with her daughter. Phoebe? We brought cookies for the volunteers. Emma's lips tightened as Sarah's daughter hugged me. Thanks to Ms. Phoebe, we still have our home, the little girl announced proudly. After they left, Emma's mask slipped slightly. You really think this makes a difference? I know it does, but you wouldn't understand that. Because I'm the villain in your story? She laughed bitterly. You have no idea what I've sacrificed for this family. Before I could respond, Damien called me over to help with a client. When I looked back, Emma was gone. That evening, Damien and I worked late, reviewing case files for the hearing. The office was quiet except for the hum of the coffee maker. You okay? He asked, noticing my distraction. Something Emma said about sacrifices. I pushed away the files. I never asked why she became so controlling after our parents died. Maybe you should. It's too late for that. He moved closer, his hand finding mine. It's never too late for truth. The moment stretched between us, heavy with unspoken words. Then my phone buzzed. Omar again. The partners are ready, his message read. Say the word and Emma's out tomorrow. Damien read the message over my shoulder. Are you tempted to destroy my sister's career? I thought I was, but now... I looked around our modest office, at the thank you cards pinned to the wall. This feels different. Because it is different. He squeezed my hand. You're building something, not tearing something down. A knock at the door interrupted us. Logan stood there looking worried. You need to see this, he said, handing me a manila envelope. Found it while cleaning out my mom's attic. Inside was a newspaper clipping from 15 years ago. Local lawyer sacrifices career to save family firm. The photo showed a younger Emma standing beside our father. Read it, Logan urged. The article detailed how Emma had taken the fall for our father's mishandling of client funds, accepting a suspension rather than let the scandal destroy the firm. She was 20, fresh out of college. She never told me, I whispered. There's more, Logan said. Mom kept all the articles. Emma spent those suspended years working 3 jobs to keep you in private school. My phone buzzed again. Omar. Partners meeting tomorrow. Are you in? Damien watched me stare at the message. What are you thinking? I'm thinking about choices, I said slowly, and sacrifices. I typed my response to Omar. No coup. Find another way. You're showing mercy? Logan asked. No. I stood up, gathering my files. I'm choosing to be better than her. That's different. Damien smiled. So what's the plan? First, we prepare for the hearing. Then, I looked at the old newspaper photo of my sister. Then I think it's time for a real family conversation. My phone lit up with a text from Emma. Dinner tomorrow, just us. Please. For the first time in years, I saw the period after please for what it was. Not a command, but a request. Go, Damien said, reading over my shoulder. Some battles are won with swords, others with olive branches. I nodded, gathering my courage. Will you be here? After? He touched my cheek gently. Always. As I left the office, I passed our wall of client photos. Each face represented someone who'd needed help and found it here. Emma might have sacrificed her early career for our family, but somewhere along the way, she'd forgotten why lawyers exist in the first place. Tomorrow, I'd remind her. And maybe, just maybe, we'd both learn something about the true meaning of family and justice. The restaurant Emma chose was empty except for us. She'd rented the entire place. Classic Emma controlling the environment. She sat at our usual table, already nursing a glass of wine. You came, she said as I sat down. Almost didn't. I placed the old newspaper article on the table. Want to tell me about this? She stared at the yellowed paper, her fingers trembling slightly as she touched it. Where did you get this? Logan found it. 15 years is a long time to keep a secret. It wasn't relevant. You took the fall for Dad's mistake. Worked 3 jobs to keep me in school. Seems pretty relevant. The waiter approached, but Emma waved him away. That was a different time. When did it change? When did protecting me become controlling me? She took a long sip of wine. The day of the accident. The police called me first. Did you know that? I had to identify their bodies while you were still at that art show. Emma, Dad's firm was in chaos. His partners were circling like vultures. You were falling apart. Someone had to take control. So you did what you always do, sacrificed yourself to protect me. And look how you repay me. Her voice hardened. Starting a competing firm, stealing my clients. Your clients? I leaned forward. You mean like Sarah, who couldn't afford your retainer while facing eviction? Or the Ramirez kids fighting for their grandmother's medical care? Don't be naive. Pro bono work doesn't pay the bills. Actually, it does. I pulled out our financial reports. We're profitable, Emma, small but growing, and we're helping people. She started to respond when Omar burst into the restaurant, face flushed. Emma, we have a problem. He stopped short, seeing me. I didn't know you had company. Speak, Emma commanded. The Phillips case. They're filing a complaint with the Bar Association about the billing irregularities. Emma's face went white. That's impossible. Those records were sealed. They had help. Omar looked at me. Someone with access to our systems. You think I started. No, Emma cut in. This is your handiwork, isn't it, Omar? Finally making your move? Omar straightened. The partners meet tomorrow. We're recommending your immediate removal. After everything I've done for you, you've done nothing but rule through fear, he snapped. It's over, Emma. He left, leaving silence in his wake. Emma's hand shook as she poured more wine. Congratulations, she said bitterly. You win. This isn't what I wanted. No? Isn't this your perfect revenge? Taking everything from me like I supposedly took from you? I turned down Omar's coup offer. Twice. She froze, glass halfway to her lips. What? He approached me weeks ago. I said no. Why? Because destroying you won't fix us. I reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Emma, when did you last take a vacation? Have a real relationship? Live any life outside that office? I had responsibilities. To who? Dad's gone. I'm grown. Who are you protecting now? Her glass clattered to the table, red wine spreading like blood across the white tablecloth. I don't know how to be anything else, she whispered. Then let me help you. Like you helped me. By destroying my career? By saving you from it. I pulled out another document. Transfer of partnership. Omar doesn't have the votes without my support. She stared at the paper. What's the catch? Step down as managing partner. Take a sabbatical. Let someone else carry the weight for a while. And become what? A charity lawyer like you? Become my sister again. I finally caught her hand. Remember her? The one who worked 3 jobs to keep me in school? Tears formed in her eyes. The first I'd seen since our parents' funeral. I was so angry when you started your firm. Not because of the competition, but because you were succeeding without me. I learned from the best. I squeezed her hand. Even if the best lost her way. Her phone buzzed, probably the partners demanding answers. She ignored it. The hearing, she said. I'll withdraw the petition. Thank you. And the firm? Take the sabbatical. Find yourself. The firm will be there if you want it, but on new terms. She nodded slowly, then looked around at the empty restaurant. I really have controlled everything, haven't I? Start small. Maybe next time we can eat somewhere with actual people? A ghost of a smile crossed her face. Baby steps. Outside, Damien was waiting in his car as promised. Emma saw him and raised an eyebrow. He seems devoted. He is. She nodded. Good, you deserve that. We stood awkwardly, years of hurt and hope hanging between us. Lunch next week? I offered. In public? Baby steps, she repeated and walked away. Watching her go, I realized some victories don't feel like winning. They feel like the first painful step toward healing. The box of family photos sat untouched on my dining room table for 3 days before Emma finally came over. She looked different, dressed in jeans and a sweater instead of her usual power suit, hair loose around her shoulders. Nice sign, she said, nodding toward the Morrison Community Legal Services placard visible through the window. Dad would have hated it. Mom would have loved it. She would. Emma picked up a photo from the box, us as kids, gap-toothed and grinning. God, you were such a happy child. Until you became my warden instead of my sister. She flinched. I deserved that. Did you? I poured us both coffee. I've been thinking about what you said about the accident, about having to identify their bodies alone. Ancient history? Is it? Because you haven't taken a day off since then. She sipped her coffee, avoiding my eyes. Someone had to be strong. And someone had to be controlled? The words came out sharper than intended. I was trying to protect you. From what, Emma? From making my own choices? My own mistakes? From ending up like them? Her cup clattered against the saucer. Dad's firm was drowning in debt. Mom knew it, covered for him, enabled him. Their last fight was about money. I sat back, stunned. The night of the accident? They were driving to a client meeting. Dad was desperate for cash flow. Mom wanted him to come clean, admit the firm was failing. She wiped her eyes roughly. When the police called, all I could think was, I have to do better. I have to protect what's left of our family. By becoming a dictator? By becoming successful. She stood up pacing. Every decision, every sacrifice was to ensure we'd never be vulnerable again. Including stealing my inheritance? Including making sure you didn't waste it on dreams that wouldn't pay the bills. Like helping people? Like throwing away your potential on lost causes. Damien's voice cut through our argument. Are those lost causes? We turned to find him in the doorway, holding a stack of photos, our client success stories. The Ramirez family kept their grandmother's house, he continued, laying down photos. Sarah's daughter is thriving in school. The Thompson kids have health care. That's different, Emma protested. Why? Because it doesn't make millions? I stepped closer to her. You want to talk about waste? Look at yourself, Emma. When's the last time you smiled like this? I held up our childhood photo. She stared at it, then at the client photos. I don't know how to be any other way. Yes, you do. I touched her arm. The sister who worked 3 jobs to keep me in school? She knew exactly who she was. That girl was naive. That girl was brave, Damien said quietly, like her sister is now. Emma sank back into her chair. The partners want answers by tomorrow. So, give them some. I sat beside her. Take the sabbatical, travel, learn who Emma is without the power suits and corner office. And the firm? We'll survive. Maybe even thrive with some fresh perspective. She picked up another photo. Mom and Dad at their last Christmas. They made so many mistakes. Yes, I agreed. And so have we. The question is, what do we do now? She was quiet for a long moment. That legal aid workshop you ran last week, Do you need more volunteers? Always. I might know some lawyers, good ones, looking for meaning beyond billable hours. Damien smiled. We could use the help. Emma stood, gathering her purse. At the door, she turned back. That photo, of us as kids. Could I have a copy? Better idea. I grabbed my keys. Let's get dinner. Somewhere casual with actual people. We can talk about everything. The firm, the workshops, whatever you want. Including this thing between you and him? She nodded toward Damien with a hint of her old sharpness. Baby steps, remember? For the first time in years, she laughed. A real laugh, not her courtroom chuckle. Fine, but I'm not eating anywhere with paper napkins. Progress, not perfection, Damien quipped. As we left, I caught sight of our reflection in the window. Two sisters, walking together instead of one leading and one following. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but at least now we were both choosing to walk it. Phoebe, Emma said as we reached her car, I'm sorry for everything. I know. I linked my arm through hers. Me too. Behind us, Damien locked up the office, the Morrison Community Legal Services sign glowing softly in the evening light. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new cases, new chances to help people. But tonight was about two sisters finding their way back to each other, one baby step at a time. Italian, Emma suggested, as long as it has paper napkins. She rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. Brat. Dictator. This time, we both laughed. The autumn breeze rustled through the courtyard as volunteers set up chairs for our outdoor legal clinic. Emma adjusted a stack of forms, looking almost comfortable in her business casual attire. You're color-coding the intake forms now? I teased. Organization matters, she said, but with a smile. Even in legal aid. Since starting her sabbatical, she'd thrown herself into our community work with the same intensity she'd once reserved for corporate law. The difference was in her eyes. They were clearer now, more present. Nicole rushed over, waving a newspaper. Have you seen this? The headline read, Morrison Sisters Transform Local Legal Scene. Below was a photo of Emma and me at last week's tenant rights workshop. Dad would have had a heart attack, Emma said, tracing the words. Mom would have framed it, I countered. Speaking of framing, Damien appeared with a wrapped package. For your office. Inside was the old photo of Emma and me as kids, professionally restored and framed, alongside a recent picture of us at the clinic. The inscription read, The Morrison Sisters, Then and Now. Emma touched the glass gently. We've come full circle, haven't we? Before I could respond, Omar walked into the courtyard. Emma tensed, but he raised his hands in peace. Just here to help, he said, if you'll have me. I looked at Emma, letting her decide. She straightened her shoulders. Intake forms are color-coded. Try to keep up. He grinned and grabbed a stack of blue forms. The courtyard filled quickly with clients and volunteer lawyers. Emma worked the crowd like she was born to it, her corporate experience lending authority to her compassion. Ms. Morrison, Sarah's daughter ran up, clutching a school paper. I got an A on my essay about community heroes. I wrote about you both. Emma read it, her hands trembling slightly. The Morrison sisters show that being strong doesn't mean being mean. Out of the mouths of babes. Pretty smart kid, Damien said, slipping his arm around my waist. Logan arrived with coffee for everyone. Like old times, he said, except better. Emma watched as Nicole trained new volunteers, her expression thoughtful. I never understood before, she said quietly. The power of helping instead of controlling. Better late than never, I squeezed her hand. Ms. Emma, a client called from the registration table. We need your expertise. She straightened, lawyer mode engaging, but softer now, more human. Duty calls. As she walked away, Damien hugged me from behind. Proud of you both. We're still figuring it out, I admitted. That's what family does. The day flew by in a blur of consultations and coffee. As sunset painted the courtyard golden, Emma and I sat on the steps, watching volunteers pack up. The partners called, she said. They want me back. My heart stopped. And? I told them I needed more time. She smiled. Turns out helping people is addictive. Does this mean you're joining us permanently? Let's say I'm exploring my options. Speaking of which, She nodded toward Damien, who was helping load supplies. When are you going to make that official? When are you going to let me set you up with Omar? She threw a paper clip at me. Baby steps, remember? Always. Sarah approached with more cookies, her daughter in tow. Thank you both, she said, for everything. After they left, Emma stood and brushed off her pants. Want to grab dinner? Somewhere with paper napkins? Actually, I pulled out an old photo. I was thinking we could cook. Mom's lasagna recipe? She stared at the photo. Mom in the kitchen, both of us helping, covered in flour and laughing. I haven't cooked since... I know. Me neither. She took a deep breath. We'll probably mess it up. Probably. The kitchen will be a disaster. Definitely. She linked her arm through mine. Let's do it. As we walked home, the Morrison Community Legal Services sign glowed behind us. Ahead, our house, no longer a symbol of control and resentment, but of reconciliation and new beginnings. Hey, Phoebe, Emma said as we reached the porch. Yeah? Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for finding your way back. Inside, we pulled out Mom's recipe box, flour soon dusting the counter like snow. And if we both got teary-eyed when the familiar scent filled the kitchen, neither of us mentioned it. Some victories come with fanfare and headlines. Others come quietly, in flour-dusted kitchens and paper napkin dinners, in sisters finding their way back to each other, one recipe, one case, one moment at a time. The lasagna was imperfect, but then again, so were we. And somehow, that made it taste even better.
I gazed at the custom-made welcome baby banner, wondering if the rose gold lettering had been a misstep. Olivia had always favored understated elegance, but Mother, in her infinite wisdom, now championed extravagance in all things. The party planner's invoice in my hand served as a stark reminder of why I should have politely declined to orchestrate this entire affair. I'm Clara, and for the past 15 years I've been diligently attempting to debunk the myth that career success and family devotion are mutually exclusive. Spoiler alert, my mother remains unconvinced. Caterers are here, Ms. Clara, Maya announced, appearing at my side, clipboard in hand. They're running 20 minutes behind schedule, naturally. I glanced at my watch and saw another work email clamoring for my attention, but it could wait. Did you confirm the floral arrangements? All set. But your mom called again. She's proposing a seating chart revision. Wants Lily's college friends moved closer to the front. I closed my eyes, inhaling deeply. It was the seating chart we'd finalized 3 days prior. The one she'd approved. Maya gently squeezed my shoulder. Want me to handle it? No, I'll manage. I sighed, retrieving my phone and dialing. Clara, darling. Mother's voice dripped with saccharine sweetness. I was just thinking about the seating. Mother, it's simply not feasible to alter it now. Place cards are already printed, tables are already set, and Lily specifically requested. Lily approved the arrangement last week, yes, I recall. Her tone was dismissive. I watched as venue staff meticulously positioned crystal centerpieces. Remember the family dinner, Mother? Oh, you mean the dinner you abandoned prematurely for that all-important conference call. There it was. Eleanor Vance's signature guilt trip. That call secured the Thompson account. I stated, the account that's partially funding this elaborate shower you're currently attempting to micromanage. Always with the work, Clara, isn't it? Your sister is having a baby. Would it truly pain you to prioritize family for once? The venue manager waved frantically from across the room. Mother, I must go. The seating remains as is. I disconnected before she could respond. Is there any problem? Maya inquired. Just the usual maternal theatrics, I replied. Now, what fresh hell awaits? Dessert table lighting isn't ethereal enough, apparently. Maya deadpanned. Our manager's on the verge of a meltdown. As we walked towards the escalating drama, my phone vibrated. It was Lily's text. Mom says you're being difficult about seating. Can't you just help make my day perfect? Perfect. The word echoed with bitter irony. Perfect. Like the straight A's that were never quite good enough. Perfect. Like the promotion that meant nothing because it coincided with Sunday dinner. perfect, like this extravagant $40,000 baby shower that still, somehow, fell short of expectations. The lighting is fine, I stated firmly to the frazzled manager. If necessary, we can adjust camera settings for the photos. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Mr. Davis, the family lawyer. Clara, your mother's on my other line regarding the venue contract. Something about last-minute alterations. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Inform her any modifications at this juncture incur significant additional charges. She insists money is no object. Of course, I muttered. Not her money, naturally. Just placate her, please. We're mere hours from the event. Will do. And Clara. Davis paused before adding, you're handling this remarkably well. Don't let anyone diminish that. The phone was then disconnected. A familiar ache is settling in my chest. The same hollow pang from childhood piano recitals and debate championships, from art majors lauded and business degrees dismissed. Hey! Maya's voice cut through my reverie. You all right? I'm fine. I lied. Just wondering why I persist in seeking validation from those determined to misunderstand me. Because you're Clara. Maya stated simply. You don't surrender, even when logic dictates you should. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Aunt Claire. Mother's fully mobilized. Prepare for battle, darling. And remember, your worth transcends their approval. I surveyed the impeccably decorated venue, each detail meticulously orchestrated amidst client meetings and project deadlines. In 4 hours, this room would teem with guests, and my sister would have her picture-perfect baby shower. And I, ever the dutiful daughter, would smile, nod, and pretend their barbs don't sting, as always. Because that's what good daughters do, don't they? The baby shower was in full swing when my phone vibrated for the 10th time. A client emergency demanded immediate attention. I slipped behind a decorative screen. Yes, I understand the urgency. I murmured. I can review the contract within 20 minutes. Clara, Mother's voice sliced through the party chatter. What precisely are you doing sequestered back there? I terminated the call abruptly. Just overseeing gift arrangements, Mother. Always tethered to that infernal device. She hissed, grasping my arm and propelling me back into the throng. Your sister is about to open presents. Surely your precious work can endure a brief delay. Lily, resplendent in an ornate chair I'd specifically sourced, was enthroned amidst a semicircle of fawning guests. Her expectant glow was enhanced by the professional lighting I'd painstakingly arranged. A detail that would go unacknowledged. There you are. Lily's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. I was beginning to suspect you'd vanished entirely. Just managing a few last-minute details. I offered, taking my seat beside her, aware of Mother hovering nearby. Details, details. Mother sighed theatrically. That's all you concern yourself with these days. Numbers and contracts. Neglecting actual family. A ripple of discomfort shifted through the assembled guests. Shall we proceed with the presents, then? Lily commenced unwrapping gifts with practiced enthusiasm. I discreetly checked my phone. 3 missed calls from the increasingly frantic client. Oh, this one's from Clara. Lily announced with forced cheer. My stomach clenched. I'd spent the better part of a week tracking down a vintage silver rattle, an exact replica of the one featured in our grandmother's baby photos. Lily tore through the paper, revealing the velvet box. Oh, it's nice. Just like Grandma Margaret's. She conceded, her tone lukewarm. Yes. I interjected quickly. Remember how Grandma always told us stories about? Speaking of remembering. Mother cut in. Does everyone recall when Clara missed Lily's college graduation due to a crucial meeting? The room fell into an immediate, oppressive silence. Lily's husband, Ben, shifted uncomfortably in his seat, avoiding eye contact. Mother, that was years ago, I said quietly. And I flew in the very next day. And now, here we are. And now, here we are. Mother plowed on relentlessly. At Lily's baby shower. And she still can't detach herself from that infernal phone for a single hour. Eleanor, Aunt Claire interjected sharply, a clear warning in her tone, but Mother was impervious to subtle cues. Does anyone actually know who orchestrated this entire shower? She demanded of the captive audience. Mother did. Lily chimed in, her voice thick with tears. While you were too preoccupied with your important career to be bothered to assist. I stared at her, momentarily speechless. Lily, I literally planned every. Oh, please, she sniffled dismissively. You wrote a few checks, threw money at it, as you do with everything. But where were you for the actual planning? The late-night calls about color schemes, the menu tastings. I was on those calls, Lily? My voice rose despite my best efforts. I meticulously scheduled them around your availability, remember. Ladies, Ben attempted weakly to intervene, but Mother silenced him with a withering glare. Your sister is having a baby, Mother announced to the room, her voice trembling with manufactured emotion. A miracle. A new life. But I suppose that's simply not as significant as whatever pressing matter occupies her on that phone. My phone chose that precise moment to buzz again. The client was now threatening litigation. I need to take this, I said, rising to my feet. It is important. More important than family. Lily's voice cracked. More important than me? The room was utterly silent, every guest a rapt spectator at my public unraveling. You know what? I said, snatching my purse. Yes, right now this call is more important. Because unlike this shower, which I meticulously planned, painstakingly paid for, and am apparently receiving zero credit for, this call actually matters to people who value my time and my expertise. Gasps rippled through the room. Mother's face deepened to an alarming shade of purple. How dare you? After everything we've done for you, everything you've done for me. I laughed bitterly. Please enlighten me, Mother. Was it the constant criticism? The perpetual comparisons to Lily? The expertly deployed guilt trips? Maya materialized at my elbow. Perhaps we should step outside, Clara, she murmured. No need, I stated. I'm leaving. Enjoy the remainder of the shower, Lily. The venue's paid through 7. Try not to let Mother convince you I ruined this as well. I turned sharply on my heel, striding towards the exit. As I passed Lily, a fresh wave of fury contorted her face. Before I could register her intent, she spat, the saliva landing with sickening wetness on my cheek. The room collectively gasped. I paused for a fraction of a second, then continued walking. Behind me, I heard Mother's theatrical sobs and Lily's hiccuping tears. Just before the doors swung shut, I heard Aunt Claire's voice. Well, Eleanor, I sincerely hope you're finally satisfied. You've truly outdone yourself this time. I reached my car before the tears finally breached. But as I sat there, watching the venue staff begin to dismantle the carefully constructed facade of celebration, a strange sense of calm settled over me. My phone buzzed again, but this time, instead of anxiety, I felt something else entirely resolve. I remained in the driver's seat for precisely 3 minutes, allowing the initial surge of adrenaline to dissipate. My hands had stilled. Davis, it's Clara Vance. About that contingency plan we discussed? The one you were so certain we'd never actually need to implement. He sounded instantly alert. Clara? What in heaven's name has transpired? They finally pushed too far. I stated. Execute Plan B. In its entirety. Clara, he hesitated. Are you absolutely certain? This is drastic. Do they believe I merely write checks, as Lily so eloquently phrased it? Let's illuminate precisely what that entails. I disconnected and immediately dialed Sophia, the venue manager. Sophia, regarding those payment arrangements we previously discussed. Of course, Ms. Vance. Everything is prepared, precisely as requested. Excellent. Implement all changes. Effective immediately. My phone pinged with an incoming text from Maya. Holy Mother of Pearl, they are still going at it. Lily's now weeping about how you abandoned her on her special day. Your mother is holding court, playing the role of martyred queen with Oscar-worthy conviction. I smiled. a genuine smile for the first time in hours, and typed back, "Give it 20 minutes." The subsequent calls were brisk, efficient, and utterly devastating in their collective impact. The catering company, the bartender, the photographer, the entertainment service. Each conversation was a masterclass in professional detachment and contractual obligation. "Everything's in motion," Davis confirmed. "Are you truly resolute in this course of action, Clara?" "They wish to discuss finances," I replied, starting the engine. "Let us, then, engage in a comprehensive discussion of finances." I pulled out of the parking space, catching a glimpse of Aunt Claire hurrying out of the venue entrance. She spotted my car and rushed over. I rolled down the window. "Aunt Claire, whatever you're envisioning, multiply it by tenfold." "Oh, Clara," she sighed. "How significant is the fallout in there?" Mother's elevated it to a full-blown Greek tragedy, naturally. Lily is now convinced I've irrevocably ruined her life. Ben looks as though he's contemplating a strategic relocation to Antarctica. "What precisely have you instigated, Clara Vance?" Aunt Claire inquired, her eyes narrowed with apprehension and curiosity. "Nothing they haven't inadvertently requested," I replied, showing her the relevant emails. "You see, Mother always lauded my aptitude with numbers. Time to demonstrate the full extent of that particular skill set." Aunt Claire's eyes widened as she scanned the screen. "Oh my God, Clara. This is perfectly legal, isn't it?" "Impeccably so. Everything is meticulously documented. All contracts, all arrangements, all in my name." I shifted the car into drive. "They wish to insinuate I merely throw money around with reckless abandon? Very well. They may now experience the cessation of that particular resource." "And where are you headed in the midst of this family implosion?" "The spa, Aunt Claire. I have a massage appointment scheduled. And," I smiled, "I did, after all, prepay for it." As I pulled away, I glimpsed the nascent stages of chaos unfolding through the venue's windows. Sophia would be making her announcements imminently. The open bar would suddenly require individual payments. The photographer would be discreetly packing up his equipment. The caterers would, with extreme politeness, cease service. And the bills, the meticulously calculated bills, would be distributed to each guest who had witnessed my humiliation. My phone erupted in notifications, a digital chorus of impending familial meltdown. I connected it to the car's Bluetooth, letting the messages play. "Clara, what in God's name is happening?" Lily's voice trembled. "The venue. They're demanding immediate payment. Delete. Clara Elizabeth Vance, you answer this infernal device immediately." Mother's voice shrieked. "Delete? Hey Clara, it's Ben. Look, I know things." Escalated somewhat at the shower, but delete. A text message from Maya. "Oh my fucking God! Your mom just attempted to put the entire outstanding balance on her platinum card, and it's declined. Lily's college contingent is staging a mass exodus. This is infinitely superior to Netflix." I pulled into the spa parking lot, feeling lighter than I had in years. The receptionist greeted me with a serene smile. "Welcome, Miss Vance. Your private relaxation suite is prepared." "Thank you," I replied, handing her my phone. "Would you mind holding on to this for me? I'm anticipating a rather robust volume of calls I'd prefer to ignore for the next few hours." "Of course, Miss Vance. May I perhaps interest you in our wine list while you unwind?" "Please do," I murmured, following her towards the promise of blissful oblivion. As I entered the hushed tranquility of the suite, another text message arrived from Davis. "Bills are fully distributed. Your mother is now attempting to contact the venue owner directly. Should I run interference?" "No," I typed back. "Let her attempt to navigate that particular labyrinth. Some lessons are most effectively learned through direct, unmediated experience." I changed into the luxurious spa robe, the murmur of artificial waterfalls soothing my frayed nerves. My phone buzzed one final time. Another message from Aunt Claire. "Your mother's facial expression upon receipt of the bar tab? Priceless, darling. Worth every penny of this glorious conflagration. But was incinerating the bridge entirely unavoidable? I considered the decades of relentless criticism, the casual diminishment, the perpetual role of familial ATM, all while being berated for insufficient family orientation. Some bridges, I typed back decisively, simply demand combustion to illuminate, perhaps, what lies on the other side of the wreckage. Then, I powered off my phone, ordered a glass of champagne, and prepared to savor every exquisite, guilt-free minute of my thoroughly justified revenge. After all, I had written the check. The massage therapist's skilled hands worked out 15 years of accumulated, family-induced tension from my shoulders, while my phone collected a steadily escalating volume of frantic messages in the locker room. 2 glorious, uninterrupted hours of silence ensued. When I finally emerged, the receptionist greeted me with an expression of mingled sympathy and amusement. "Your phone has been quite active, Miss Vance. 37 missed calls and countless messages. I assume none were particularly pleasant." She discreetly handed me the device. The last voicemail, in particular, was rather vociferous. Something about financial terrorism, I believe. I scrolled through the litany of increasingly desperate messages. The final voicemail was from Mother, her voice shrill with panic. "Clara Elizabeth Vance. The venue is demanding immediate payment. For everything. Lily's friends. Apparently they were expected to pay for their own drinks. The photographer. He simply left, taking all the photos. The caterers. They packed up all the food. Clara, what in God's name have you done?" I deleted it with a serene smile and dialed Maya. "You are an absolute legend." She answered immediately, dissolving into laughter. "I wish you could have witnessed it firsthand, Clara. Your mother actually attempted to pull the 'do you know who I am' card with the venue manager." Sophia simply kept gesturing towards the contracts, prominently displaying your signature. "And Lily?" I inquired, accepting a glass of cucumber-infused water. She cried, predictably. Her college friends actually bailed, abandoned her mid-meltdown when confronted with the bar tab. Real testament to the enduring bonds of friendship, wouldn't you agree? "Indeed," I murmured. "Any other casualties?" "Oh, the designer cupcakes you painstakingly sourced? The ones your mother audibly bragged about arranging to her gaggle of church friends? Packed up and removed from the premises precisely as she was showcasing them. Impeccable timing, really." My phone buzzed with another incoming call. From Davis. "Clara Vance speaking." "Clara," he stated without preamble. "Your mother is now threatening legal action. 4. What, precisely, is her legal grievance? For my temerity in paying for services rendered and subsequently exercising my contractual right to withdraw said services," I replied. "Let her grasp at straws." "Indeed," he chuckled. "The final tally is substantial. Between the remaining venue fees, the bar tab, photographer cancellation penalties, and the catering balance. Approximately $288,000, which of course they are now solely responsible for remitting, and their capacity to remit. Your mother's credit cards are comprehensively maxed out. Lily's too, I gather. Not my concern," I stated, rising to gather my belongings. "Franklin, Ben, rather, has actually been surprisingly reasonable. He's offered to negotiate a payment plan." "Decline it," I instructed. "They wish to handle everything independently, without my interference. Let them now fully embrace the joys of independence." My phone buzzed again. "Aunt Claire, you have instigated quite the scandal, darling," she announced. "Half the country club will be dissecting this for months to come." "Excellent," I replied, stepping out into the cool evening air, feeling remarkably unburdened. Perhaps they'll reconsider inviting Mother to plan their future events. Lily, predictably, is a mess. Claims you've ruined her baby shower and destroyed memories forever. That's infinitely preferable to compared to allowing her to continue ruining the rest of my life, I stated, adding a generously vindictive tip to my spa bill. And mother? How is Eleanor receiving this? Karmic retribution. Already engaged in frantic outreach to every acquaintance, desperately soliciting loans. No takers thus far. Apparently her credit history isn't quite as pristine as she pretends. Any regrets, Clara? Aunt Claire inquired, a thread of concern in her amused tone. Only that I neglected to record the entire spectacle for posterity. I confessed. Aunt Claire chuckled. But I did manage to procure a rather evocative photograph of your mother's visage upon presentation of the bar tab. Frame-worthy, truly. My phone illuminated with another text, this one from Ben. Clara, can we speak? Just us? I think. Apologies are long overdue. Interesting timing, I muttered. What will you do now, Clara? Aunt Claire prompted. I slid into my car, adjusting the rearview mirror. The woman reflected back looked different, lighter, freer. Now, Aunt Claire, I am going home. I'm ordering takeout from that new Thai place, and I intend to luxuriate in the silence. They wish to discuss money? They may now discuss it amongst themselves. And tomorrow? Tomorrow I shall return to being the successful career woman they so love to criticize. Only this time, they will possess a more nuanced understanding of precisely what that entails. As I drove home, my phone continued its relentless symphony of messages and calls. Each notification represented a person who had witnessed my public humiliation and was now desperately clamoring for my intervention. Each would remain unanswered. Because sometimes the most potent form of revenge isn't merely achieving parity, it's about teaching people the value of what they consistently took for granted. Monday morning dawned, bringing with it a digital deluge of 53 unread messages and 12 voicemails. I summarily deleted them all and walked into my office as though it were any other day, which it was. My assistant, Olivia, greeted me with coffee and a knowing smile. Your mother called the office 6 times before 9 a.m., she stated, her tone neutral. Any other calls of note? I inquired, accepting the blessed caffeine. The Thompson contract is officially signed. The merger meeting is confirmed for 2 p.m. And your sister's husband, Ben, he stopped by earlier, requested an urgent business discussion. Olivia handed me a folder. I informed him you were in meetings for the duration of the day. My office phone illuminated, Eleanor Vance's name flashing across the caller ID. Your mother again, Olivia murmured. Let it ring. I instructed, settling into my chair and powering up my computer. Maya burst through the door, radiating barely suppressed glee. Spill, she demanded. Everything. How was the spa? Have you yet succumbed to the siren call of social media? The spa was transformative. I slept soundly. And no, I am assiduously avoiding all forms of digital engagement with the unfolding familial implosion. Oh, but you really shouldn't, Maya protested, brandishing her phone. Your mother's church contingent is staging a full-scale meltdown in the community Facebook group. Apparently you have destroyed the sanctity of the baby shower for all eternity. And Lily? I inquired as I steeled myself. Lily has posted a triptych of strategically tear-streaked selfies. The caption reads, "When your own sister betrays you on your special day." 3 crying emojis for added emphasis. My phone buzzed. Aunt Claire, your mother is convening an emergency family meeting this evening, she announced. She is attempting to rally the troops against you. Best of luck to her, I murmured. I suspect most of the troops are currently rather heavily indebted to my war chest. Indeed, Aunt Claire chuckled. Ben has been making pointed inquiries regarding the business side of things. Interesting timing, considering Lily's rather substantial credit card payment is due today, I noted. That's not all. Aunt Clara lowered her voice. Your mother has been calling everyone, desperately attempting to refinance the Vance family homestead. Maya looked up, her eyes wide. Oh, my God, Clara, Lily's college friends are publicly eviscerating your mother in the comments section of her latest post. The tacky cash bar was the final straw. My office phone illuminated again. Your sister, this time. Olivia's voice came through the intercom. Still unavailable, I presume. Indefinitely. I confirmed. Eleanor is now threatening to compose a formal letter of complaint to your board of directors regarding your unethical business practices. Aunt Claire sighed. The board that I currently sit on, I laughed. The same board that values my unethical ability to consistently close multi-million-dollar deals. Desperate measures, Aunt Claire murmured. Excellent, I replied, noting a rapidly accumulating volume of messages from Ben. Perhaps they are beginning to grasp the distinction between being family and being valued solely for one's readily accessible financial contributions. Maya perched on my desk. Ben has been actively engaging with your professional achievements on LinkedIn. Every single post, transparently attempting to butter you up. Damage control. His law firm's senior partners are avid followers of your professional trajectory. My phone buzzed with another text from Davis. Lily is now attempting to dispute the venue charges with her credit card company. Predictably, it is not going well. Your mother, yet again, Olivia announced, exasperated. I pressed the intercom button. Olivia, hold all calls, unless they pertain directly to the Thompson merger, and if Ben attempts to, drop by. Again, please inform him my schedule is fully committed through next month. And the emergency family meeting, this evening, Aunt Claire prompted. I have a previously scheduled dinner engagement with prospective clients, I replied, perfectly deadpan. Eleanor is now propagating the narrative that you have turned your back on family in their hour of acute need, Aunt Claire continued. No, I corrected. I have turned my back on being their perpetually underappreciated and consistently financially exploited like a personal bank. There is a rather significant distinction. Maya snorted with laughter. Oh, my God, Clara. Lily's latest social media pronouncement. When money matters more than sacred family bonds, complete with 3 additional crying emojis. Fascinating, I murmured, unmoved. Interesting how family bonds only seem to acquire paramount significance when they require something, specifically, copious amounts of my money. Olivia buzzed through again. Your mother is now holding on all 3 lines. Shall I inform her you've spontaneously developed an acute aversion to all forms of electronic communication? Precisely. And now, I stated, rising to my feet. It is time to engage in actual billable revenue-generating work. Forward all further, family-related calls directly to voicemail. And for the emergency family meeting, this evening, I added, glancing at Aunt Claire. Inform them I am unavoidably detained, throwing money at my career, my portfolio, Maya, if you please. That, after all, is what I demonstrably excel at. As I strode towards the executive conference room, my phone illuminated with more incoming messages. Ben. Clara, we need to discuss Lily's credit score. It's catastrophic. Delete. Mother. This behavior is utterly unacceptable, Clara. We raised you better than this. Delete. Lily. The bank called regarding the venue payment. Please. We desperately need your help. Delete. Maya caught up with me at the elevator. You know they will persist, Clara. They simply aren't wired to comprehend the concept of no. Let them persist, I replied, stepping into the elevator. They wish to dissect my prioritization of career over family? Very well. They shall now witness precisely what that career provides. And if they actually manage to formulate a genuine apology, then it had better be exceptional. The elevator doors slid shut, effectively sealing off the chaos I was leaving behind. Because this time I held all the leverage, and I intended to wield it with the same ruthless efficiency I applied to every other aspect of my meticulously constructed life. This time, their bills are not going to be paid. The Thompson contract waited upstairs, ready to be finalized, another multi-million-dollar deal that my family would never have appreciated, until now when they desperately needed the money it represented. 3 days of silence turned into a week. My family's desperate attempts at contact grew more creative by the day. Mother even tried sending a singing telegram to my office. "You have to admit, that was a bold move," Maya said over lunch. The board got a good laugh. Speaking of bold moves, she slid her phone across the table. "Check your aunt's latest update." The photo showed Mother standing outside my childhood home, next to a for sale sign. The caption read, "Sometimes pride costs more than money." Subtle, I muttered. "Ben's been asking around about job openings at other firms," Maya continued. "Apparently, his partners aren't thrilled about the baby shower drama reaching their clients." My phone lit up. It was Davis calling. "Your mother's here in my office," he said, without preamble, "with Lily. And they want to discuss payment plans for the shower expenses. Lily's crying about credit impacts." "Not my problem." "Clara," he lowered his voice, "they're desperate. Your mother's talking about bankruptcy." Funny how money mattered now. A text came through from Aunt Claire. "Eleanor's selling her antique collection, the one she always said you weren't refined enough to inherit. Tell them I'm in meetings," I told Davis. "They've been here for 3 hours. Then they can leave 3 hours wiser." I ended the call just as Olivia buzzed my office phone. "Ben's here again. Says it's urgent." For the first time in a week, I hesitated. Send him in. Ben looked different. Tired, rumpled, less like the polished lawyer who'd watched silently during my humiliation. 2 minutes, I said before he could speak. "Lily's a mess." He remained standing. "Your mother's selling everything. Our credit is shot. I'm probably losing my partnership track. Sounds like consequences. Look." He ran a hand through his hair. "I know we messed up. I should have spoken up at the baby shower. We all took you for granted. That's one way to put it. Lily's having panic attacks about the baby's nursery. We can't get approved for any new credit cards." Still not hearing a point. He pulled out his phone, showing me a photo of Lily curled up on their couch, clearly distraught. "She's your sister, Clara." I stood up. What about when they publicly humiliated me? When they dismissed years of support? When they called me cold and calculating while happily spending my money? We were wrong. "No," I corrected, walking to the window. "You were all comfortable taking and taking while giving nothing but criticism in return." I gestured to the city sprawling beneath us. "How's that working out for you? The baby's due in 4 months." "I'm aware. I canceled the crib delivery yesterday." His phone buzzed. It was Lily calling. He ignored it. "Your mother's house is in pre-foreclosure," he said quietly. "She has options. She could sell her designer handbags or her vacation timeshare. Or maybe call all those, real family, people she loves to compare me to." "Clara, please." "Please what, Ben? Bail them out? Write another check? Go back to being the family ATM they could criticize between withdrawals?" Olivia buzzed again. "Your mother and sister have just arrived in the lobby. Security. Tell security not to let them up." Ben stepped closer. "They're sorry." "No, they're broke. There's a difference." "Then what do you want? What will it take to fix this?" I turned to face him fully. "Fix what? Exactly? The relationship they never valued? The support they took for granted? The success they resented?" His phone buzzed again. It was Mother this time. "You should go," I said. "Sounds like they need you, Clara." "No, they needed my money." And for the first time they were realizing those weren't the same thing. He moved toward the door, then paused. "For what it's worth, I always admired your drive, your success. Lily was jealous, your mother was threatened. And now they're just scared of losing more than money." After he left, I watched through my office window as he joined Mother and Lily in the parking lot. They huddled together, probably plotting their next attempt at reconciliation. My phone buzzed with a text from Aunt Claire. "They're breaking, dear. Question is, are you ready for what happens when they do?" I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled up the baby boutique website where Lily had registered. The silver rattle she'd dismissed sat in my cart, along with every other item on her wish list. One click would solve all their problems. I closed the browser. Some lessons cost more than money, and this one hasn't finished teaching yet. The knock on my apartment door came at 9 p.m., exactly 2 weeks after the baby shower. I knew who it was before I checked the peephole. Lily stood there alone, no makeup, wearing the ratty college sweatshirt she'd always refused to throw away. "You look terrible," I said, opening the door. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside, noting how she cradled her baby bump protectively. She settled on my couch, looking small against the modern furniture she'd once called soulless. "Mom doesn't know I'm here," she said quietly. "Of course she does. She's probably waiting in the car." "No, I mean it." Lily met my eyes. I took an Uber. Ben's at a partner meeting, trying to save his job. I remained standing. "What do you want, Lily?" "I found the receipts." Her voice cracked. "For the shower. All of them. Mom had thrown them away, but I needed to know." She swallowed hard, tears welling in her eyes. $47,000, she whispered, wiping her eyes. "Not counting the gifts you bought, the ones you spent months picking out. Is this the part where I'm supposed to feel appreciated because you finally looked at the price tag? No." She touched her stomach. "This is the part where I tell you. I'm scared. Really scared. We can't afford anything for the baby. My credit cards are maxed. Ben's firm is putting him on probation. Mom's losing the house. Sounds rough. I deserve that." She pulled out her phone. "But look at this. Really look." She showed me photos from the shower, before everything fell apart. The details I'd obsessed over were evident in every shot. The custom lighting that made everyone look perfect, the hand-calligraphed place cards, the precisely arranged flowers. "You did all this," she whispered. "While closing the Thompson deal, while handling the merger, while I complained about you not being there for tastings. Your point." "My point is..." She struggled to stand, her pregnant belly making it awkward. "I was jealous. Always have been. You made everything look so easy. Your career, your success, even throwing the perfect baby shower seemed effortless for you. It wasn't," I said quietly. "I know that now." She walked to my window, staring at the city lights. "Mom's a mess. She's lost everything. Her status, her credit, her reputation. The country club actually revoked her membership. Tragic. She deserved it." Lily turned back to me. "We all did. We treated you like a bank while acting like you weren't good enough for the family. The same family you've been supporting for years." My phone buzzed. It was Aunt Claire. Lily finally made the move. "How's it going?" "Why are you here, Lily?" I asked directly. "Because I'm having a baby." Her hand rested on her bump. "A little girl. And I don't want her growing up thinking it's okay to treat people the way we treated you. I don't want her learning that success should be punished, or that money matters more than honesty." Pretty words. "I'm not asking for money." She stepped closer, her eyes pleading. "I'm asking for a chance to be a better sister, a better aunt to my daughter. I'm asking if it's too late to start over. And mother. She'll have to figure out her own way back, if there is one." I studied her face. The dark circles under her eyes, the worry lines that hadn't been there before. The silver rattle. I said suddenly, "What?" "The shower gift you dismissed. Do you know why I chose it?" She shook her head. "Grandma Margaret used it to soothe us both when we were babies. Remember how she'd tell us that story about how it was the only thing that would calm you down during thunderstorms?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. I didn't even look at it properly. I was too busy trying to hurt you." "Well, it worked." "I'm so sorry, Clara." She reached for my hand. "For everything. For years of everything." I let her hold my hand for a moment before pulling away. Sorry doesn't fix credit scores. I know. She moved toward the door. But maybe it's a start. As she reached for the handle, I spoke. The rattle's still in my closet. She turned, hope flickering across her face. I'm not saying I forgive you, I continued, my voice softer now. But maybe we can talk about the baby, about starting over, really starting over. Don't make me regret it. She nodded, tears falling freely now. Thank you. After she left, I texted Aunt Claire. Lily just left. She came alone. And maybe there's hope for one bridge not to burn completely. What about Eleanor? I looked at the family photo still sitting on my shelf, taken years ago, when success meant nothing and family meant everything. Some bridges. I typed back. Need to stay in ashes. The silver rattle caught the morning light as my niece's tiny fingers wrapped around it. She had mother's eyes, but thankfully, none of her temperament. She hasn't cried once since you gave it to her, Lily said from the hospital bed. The nurses can't believe it. Grandma Margaret was right. It's a magic rattle. I adjusted the baby's blanket. Magic rattle. Ben entered with coffee, looking more relaxed than he had in months. His firm had kept him on after he'd taken full responsibility for his part in the shower incident. Humility, apparently, went a long way. Your mother's in the lobby, he said quietly. Again, Lily groaned. Did you tell her security's keeping her there? He handed me a cup. Your call, Clara. My phone buzzed. Aunt Claire. Eleanor's making quite a scene downstairs. Something about grandmother's rights. Let her be, I replied, watching my niece drift to sleep. The past 3 months had been a study in consequences. Mother had indeed lost her house, moving into a small apartment that horrified her social circle. Lily and Ben had started marriage counseling, working through the damage that financial stress and family dysfunction had caused. And I had learned to set boundaries. The trust fund is set up, I told Lily, putting my coffee down. But the conditions stand. She nodded. No contact with Mother until she completes therapy. No access to the money without financial counseling first. And we maintain separate holidays. She smiled sadly. No more forced family gatherings. The baby stirred, making those tiny noises that newborns do. Ben took a photo, then showed me his phone. Mother pacing in the lobby, gesturing wildly at hospital staff. She'll never change, Lily said softly. No, I agreed, but we did. My phone lit up with messages from the family group chat I'd never left. Cousin Rachel. Eleanor's posting about being banned from meeting her granddaughter. Uncle Paul. Should we tell her that's not how restraining orders work? Aunt Claire. The therapy appointments are paid for. She's choosing not to go. I muted the chat and focused on the baby. She had Lily's nose, Ben's chin, and hopefully none of the family's talent for emotional manipulation. I've been thinking about names, Lily said, adjusting her position. Please tell me you're not considering Eleanor Jr. No. She exchanged looks with Ben. We were thinking of Margaret after Grandma. The rattle clinked softly as the baby moved. She'd like that, I said finally. Lily hesitated. We want you to be her godmother. You sure? I might be too busy with my cold, calculating career. That's why we want you. Ben sat on the bed's edge. Someone needs to teach her that success isn't a character flaw. A commotion outside drew our attention. Mother's voice carried through the door. I demand to see my granddaughter. Security responded quickly. Through the window, we watched them escort her out, her designer knockoff bag swinging wildly as she protested. You know what's sad? Lily cradled little Margaret closer. She could be here right now. All she had to do was get help. Some people prefer their pride to their peace. I picked up the rattle, its silver surface reflecting our small group. But that's not our problem anymore. My phone buzzed one last time. It was Davis. Eleanor's threatening to contest the restraining order again. Let her. I typed back. Some battles aren't worth winning when you've already won the war. Lily touched my arm. Thank you. Not just for the trust fund or the baby stuff. Ben corrected. For giving us a chance to be better. Little Margaret yawned, completely unaware of the family drama swirling around her. She'd grow up knowing a different kind of love, one that didn't come with price tags or conditions. Want to hold her again? Lily asked. I took my niece, feeling her warm weight settle against my chest. The rattle chimed softly as I rocked her. You know, I said, Grandma Margaret used to say something about family, that it's not about who's blood and who isn't. It's about who stays when the money's gone and the masks come off. Sounds wise, Ben said. She was. I watched Margaret's eyes flutter closed. She'd be proud of us, not for the success or the money, but for finally learning what real family means. Outside, Mother's car peeled away from the hospital parking lot, leaving only tire marks and her wounded pride behind. But inside this room with the silver rattle catching sunlight, new beginnings took shape. We had everything we needed. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're born into. And sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's about living well, loving better, and letting go. My name is Heather Collins, and at the age of 40, it might seem to the casual observer that I am living a wonderfully charmed life as the proprietor of a thriving investment advisory firm located in the bustling heart of New York City. However, a rather profound event that unfolded recently has dramatically altered the trajectory of my life. This incident revisits me with stark clarity, akin to a vividly scripted scene straight out of a movie, conjuring a tumultuous mix of emotions that stubbornly linger within me, yet paradoxically bring a sense of clarity. Please allow me the opportunity to share this transformative experience with you. Everything started with an elaborate plan to celebrate the 40th wedding anniversary of my parents with an unforgettable trip to Hawaii. My father, Edward, alongside my mother, Michelle, harbored a long-standing dream to visit Hawaii ever since their youthful days. However, they were never able to realize this dream due to the relentless demands and sacrifices that come with raising a family. Driven by a desire to give back something truly special to my parents after all the years of their hard work and dedication, I made the decision to give them this much coveted trip to Hawaii. I spent considerable time poring over travel brochures and eventually reserved a room in a stunning hotel that boasted an exquisite ocean view. When I unveiled the surprise to my parents, their reaction was of sheer joy, their eyes lighting up with childlike excitement. Witnessing their joyful smiles, I felt deep down that giving them this trip was absolutely the right decision. However, this fleeting moment of joy was unfortunately short-lived. My younger sister, Abby, who at 35 is 5 years younger than me, unexpectedly disrupted the plans. Abby has always had a keen sense for seizing opportunities that would benefit her personally. In our childhood days, she always snatched my toys away and harbored envy towards my accomplishments, and it appears that her personality has not changed in her adult years. Upon discovering the Hawaii trip I had organized for our parents, she immediately declared, "I'm going too." With that, what was supposed to be a peaceful family vacation suddenly became complicated. Reflecting on our shared past, this behavior from Abby was not entirely unexpected. She has consistently imposed her desires at every pivotal moment in my life, embodying selfishness and a deep-seated need to always be the center of attention. During family gatherings, she would dominate conversations, seldom showing any interest in listening to others. I have a vivid recollection of an incident at a dinner meant to celebrate my new job. Our parents had reserved a table at a Japanese restaurant to celebrate my embarkation on a new career path. However, Abby created a scene, exclaiming, "I hate sushi. Change it to Italian." Eventually, we switched to her preferred Italian restaurant. "There," she complained, "it's always about you, even though I have exams," ruining the celebratory atmosphere. Family vacations have invariably revolved around her preferences. Even when I would organize plans, Abby would assert, "This place would be better," and our parents, often swayed by her arguments, would concur with, "Abby has a point," resulting in us ultimately conceding to her wishes. A particularly memorable incident occurred during our father's 60th birthday celebration. I had devoted several months to preparing a heartfelt video montage celebrating his life, but as soon as it started playing, Abby interrupted, proclaiming, "Before that, I have an important announcement." She then proceeded to promote her new social media channel, overshadowing the entire event with her self-centered promotion. Abby has habitually positioned herself at the forefront and attempted to steal others' special moments for herself. Our family has perennially excused her behavior, rationalizing it with, "It's just Abby." But this has only served to further enable her self-centered tendencies. I could foresee this trip possibly unfolding in much the same way. Initially, I contemplated refusing her participation, but as has often been the case, the words of my parents, "Let's all go as a family since it's a special occasion," persuaded me to relent. I reluctantly consented, despite my reservations about potentially spoiling the celebratory atmosphere by engaging in an argument with my sister. I cautioned Abby, "Please don't do anything selfish this time," to which she nonchalantly replied, "Of course I know." Despite my numerous reservations, I opted to regard the trip as a valuable opportunity for a family vacation, especially since we had not traveled together since reaching adulthood. On the day of departure, we all gathered early at the airport, filled with excitement about our long-anticipated family trip. We boarded the plane to Hawaii, and throughout the flight, Abby was preoccupied with taking selfies and uploading them to her social media platforms, excitedly exclaiming, "It's my first time going to Hawaii." Her apparent innocence and joy did little to alleviate my growing apprehensions. Upon our arrival at Honolulu International Airport in the late evening, the taxi ride to the hotel was spent with my parents fondly reminiscing about their younger days while admiring the scenic streets of Waikiki, which provided me with a modicum of relief. At least they seemed genuinely happy. However, this peace was abruptly interrupted. As we approached the hotel's front desk to confirm our reservation, Abby suddenly interjected, "I'll handle the reservation." This was unusual since Abby typically deferred such responsibilities to me. As I listened to her interact with the front desk staff, I sensed that something was amiss. "Your reservation is for an ocean view suite?" the staff member informed us. I was taken aback, as I had indeed booked an ocean view room, but it was certainly not a suite. "Just wait a moment," I interjected as Abby swiftly responded, Yes, it's the suite," and proceeded to hasten the check-in process. My parents expressed their delight. A suite, really, which rapidly escalated my suspicions. As we made our way to our room after completing the check-in, I confronted Abby to clarify the situation. "What is going on? I booked a standard room," I demanded. She replied with a defiant tone, "Come on, it's a special trip to Hawaii for our parents' 40th anniversary. Isn't a suite more fitting?" I called and had it upgraded. Hearing this, I felt something inside me about to burst. An upgrade on your own initiative. "What about the additional charges?" I inquired. "Of course you're paying, right? I already informed the front desk that you would cover it," she stated matter-of-factly. "Isn't a suite quite expensive?" my parents remarked, yet they appeared somewhat pleased. My father even endorsed her actions, stating, "Sometimes a little luxury is nice." My mother added more hurtful words, "You earn well, so it's perfectly fine for you to spend on your family occasionally." Although anger welled up inside me, I chose to suppress it this time, not wishing to spoil our parents' significant anniversary celebration. The room was indeed breathtaking in its view and size, which would usually impress anyone. However, my heart had already grown cold. "Hey, this view from the balcony is amazing. Thanks, Heather." Abby acted as though I had enthusiastically agreed to the upgrade, making me question if I had consistently been too accommodating with my family. Reflecting on the past, I realized that my family's financial exploitation began to intensify around the time my business started to flourish. It began with what my father termed a temporary loan. His business was experiencing difficulties, and he approached me, asking, "Could you lend me $30,000? At that time, my business was just beginning to turn a profit. That capital was crucial for expanding operations, yet I lent it to him, trusting his promise to repay it. Regrettably, not only did he fail to pay any interest, but he also never repaid the principal. My mother frequently reached out to me, almost on a monthly basis, lamenting, "We're really short on living expenses," attributing this financial shortfall to my father's diminished income. Observing the financial hardships faced by my parents, I felt an overwhelming obligation to contribute approximately $1,000 each month to alleviate their struggles. Additionally, I took on the full financial responsibility for Abby's education. She chose a private university with annual tuition fees exceeding $10,000, which our parents could never afford. It was an unspoken agreement within the family that I would bear this burden. The total expenditure neared $60,000, justified as, for my sister's future, which I could not refuse. Even after Abby graduated, I continued to underwrite her living expenses. More than a decade later, she has yet to secure any form of stable employment, and her various attempts at part-time jobs rarely lasted beyond a month. Despite this, she continued to indulge in dining out and going on trips under the pretense of job hunting with her friends, with all related bills invariably being forwarded to me. In stark contrast to the financial support I extended, my own lifestyle was decidedly modest. Despite being the owner of a company, my actual take-home salary was surprisingly less than that of my employees. I made it a habit to shop during sales, only purchasing new clothes a few times each year, and I resided in a 30-year-old apartment that had seen better days. Although the financial statements of my company might present a picture of health and profitability, my personal life was consistently constrained by a stringent budget. After long hours of overtime, I would return to my humble abode only to dine on instant noodles, and during holidays, I preferred to stay indoors to further curtail any unnecessary expenditures. The salary that could have been utilized for my personal enjoyment and comfort was instead consistently diverted to meet the financial needs of my family. Reflecting on the financial records, I had transferred over $500,000 to support my family in the past 5 years alone. Despite the immense financial burden, I had convinced myself that such sacrifices were just the normative expectations within a family context, and thus I endured it without complaint. Now, upon reflection, these financial sacrifices starkly symbolized the overarching narrative of my life. This ongoing situation came to a head during the Hawaii trip, prompting me to initiate a plan. In a discreet manner, I extracted my smartphone and reached out to Ben Walters, a trusted business partner who had been with me since the very inception of my company. "Ben, I need a favor." I succinctly explained the predicament and requested his assistance in contacting the hotel manager. Ben quickly grasped the gravity of the situation and acted promptly. As I observed the unfolding events, a slow-burning anger at being treated as nothing more than a cash cow began to intensify within me. That evening, we collectively decided to enjoy a family dinner in the main dining room of the hotel, acquiescing to Abby's preference for that particular venue. Ordinarily, I would steer clear of such upscale dining establishments. However, considering the special nature of the trip, I chose to indulge this one time. The restaurant exuded a luxurious ambience, filled with the soothing sounds of live music in the background. Yet, as I perused the menu, my heart sank at the sight of the exorbitant prices. Appetizers alone were priced in the tens, and main dishes frequently exceeded $100. Without any apparent concern for cost, Abby immediately ordered the most expensive steak on the menu. The side dishes she selected, such as sautéed foie gras and truffle risotto, were equally lavish. Following her lead, my parents casually ordered from the high-end selections available. My father even suggested, "Since we're here, let's go ahead and order the finest wine available," while Abby nonchalantly ordered opulent seafood dishes as casually as if she were selecting a meal from a takeout store. As I watched them nonchalantly order one luxurious dish after another, a sense of suffocation began to envelop me. Did they truly believe my financial resources were infinite? They seemed utterly oblivious to the extent of my daily economizing. I am not inherently wealthy. I work tirelessly every day simply to provide for our basic family needs of four. Yet, oblivious to my personal financial sacrifices, my parents and sister indulged in luxuries that were frankly infuriating. As we commenced our meal, Abby, pouring red wine into her glass, remarked with a beaming smile, "Heather, aren't we incredibly fortunate to dine in such an exquisite restaurant? It's all thanks to you." Then, my sister uttered words that were profoundly hurtful, albeit possibly intended in jest. "Heather, you're essentially like a walking wallet for our family, aren't you? You should have brought along a suitcase filled with cash as a special treat for today." While she likely meant this as a light-hearted joke, the words cut deep, leaving a lasting wound. My parents chuckled in agreement, yet to me, their laughter did not sound like innocent jesting. It felt more like a veiled criticism, a stark revelation that they did not truly value my contributions. It appeared that their genuine perceptions had finally come to light. They saw me merely as a convenient source of financial support, a wallet for the family. I struggled to muster a witty retort. Managing even a forced smile was a challenge. Internally, a mix of anger and profound sadness surged like a volcanic eruption. I am more than just an ATM. I am not merely a financial resource for their whims. I longed to vocalize these feelings, but the words stubbornly stuck in my throat. Over the years, I have made immense financial sacrifices for my family. I covered my sister's entire tuition and consistently assisted with my parents' living expenses. Despite these substantial contributions, they have never truly expressed gratitude and have taken my financial support for granted as if it were their due. This dessert platter looks tantalizingly delicious as well, doesn't it? Heather, could you please? My sister nonchalantly requested, pointing at the dessert menu with the same sense of entitlement that had always characterized her demands. Clenching my teeth behind a polite smile, I responded, "Of course." As the meal drew to a close, it was time to settle the bill. The waiter approached our table, presenting the bill on a polished silver tray. Seizing the moment to escape the mounting tension, I excused myself, stating, "I need to make a quick phone call," and stepped away from the table. In a secluded corner, I made a final confirmation call to Ben. Upon my return to the restaurant, I found Abby still indulging in her dessert. "I have a small errand to attend to, so I'll head back to our room first," I informed them calmly. "Where are you going?" Abby inquired, a puzzled expression crossing her face. "I'll be right back," I reassured her and proceeded to leave the restaurant. As I exited, the echoing laughter of Abby and my parents lingered in the air, sounding almost mocking in its tone. Back in the solitude of my room, I received an agitated call from Abby. Her voice resonated with piercing shrills. "Heather, where did you go? Why aren't you returning to the restaurant?" Anger was palpable in her tone. "You're not seriously expecting us to pay, are you?" I responded calmly. "I've arranged for the bill to be sent directly to you." Her response was akin to a scream, resonating sharply through the phone. In the background, I could hear the tumultuous uproar of my parents. With a smirk, I ended the call, the image of their astonished expressions bringing an involuntary smile to my face. Indeed, I had previously requested Ben, leveraging his extensive business connections, to liaise with the hotel manager on my behalf. Ben, understanding the delicacy of the situation, promptly contacted the hotel manager. During my absence from the restaurant, he managed to have the payment temporarily suspended and subsequently arranged for the bill to be charged directly to my family later. My gratitude towards Ben is profound. He is a steadfast business partner who consistently handles my most challenging requests with grace and efficiency. Just minutes later, it appeared that the hotel manager had executed the billing as planned. In a frenzied state, my parents hastily extracted their credit card to settle the unexpectedly direct bill. Upon my return to the restaurant, following the confirmation of their payment, Abby accosted me, her face ashen with shock. "What's the meaning of this? Why didn't you pay? How embarrassing!" she erupted, heedless of the setting. I countered with a frosty smile. Well, you insisted on the sweet upgrade, didn't you? And you ordered all that extravagant food. Why not pay with your own money for once? Abby was momentarily speechless, her face flushed with burgeoning anger, while my parents processed the situation and fell into a subdued silence. My father's expression bore an apologetic hue, but my mother looked notably displeased. As we exited the restaurant and made our way back to the hotel room, Abby's anger remained palpably visible. Unbelievable. Heather, you've made us look like fools. Everyone was laughing at us. Her voice was sharp, scalding my ears like boiling water. I replied with composed clarity. The embarrassment is yours alone. You rely on others' finances and act recklessly. That's what led to this outcome. I just wanted to experience staying in a suite. I just wanted to dine in a fancy restaurant. What is so terribly wrong with that? Abby's fury escalated as she continued to spout a litany of self-centered arguments. However, the following morning presented an unforeseen twist. Upon my descent for breakfast, I found my parents already seated at the restaurant, yet Abby was conspicuously absent. "Where's Abby?" I inquired, prompting a profound sigh from my mother. "She secluded herself in her room last night, relentlessly blaming you for everything, but..." It really made us think. My father, tightly clutching his coffee cup, commenced speaking in subdued tones. "Heather, we've relied on you excessively for far too many years, particularly in matters concerning Abby." My mother, her eyes brimming with tears, added, "We have never truly acknowledged your feelings. We've overly indulged Abby, placing an unfair burden on you." Their admissions resonated deeply with me. However, nearly 2 decades of financial exploitation and emotional manipulation are not easily forgivable. Throughout the flight back from Hawaii, Abby refrained from speaking to either our parents or me. Once we returned, the complexities only intensified. Abby started harassing me persistently. She bombarded me with a torrent of furious messages, all of which I chose to ignore. Her messages were laced with bitterness. "You destroyed our family. You're heartless. I will never speak to you again." Phrases that echoed the petulance of a child's tantrum. On a subsequent day, my parents visited my residence, bearing an old photo album. "Heather, do you recall this photograph?" My mother pointed to an image of Abby and me as children, a time when our sibling bond appeared unbreakable. We were so close back then. The album was replete with photographs depicting happier times. A Christmas party where we all shared genuine smiles, a beach scene where we as sisters collaborated on a sandcastle. Yet these images now ironically underscored the eroded trust and distorted dynamics within our family. "Can't we start over?" My mother's voice was laden with a pleading undertone, but my resolve remained unyielding. Years of navigating imbalanced relationships, enduring one-sided transactions, and suffering through emotional manipulation cannot simply be mended with a single photograph. "I'm sorry, but I can't go back." Upon hearing this, my mother's voice broke as she choked up, and my father let out a deep, sorrowful sigh. In the aftermath, I made a decisive move to send one final, unequivocal message in our family messenger group. For years, I have devoted myself to my family. I've covered tuition, living expenses, and provided countless forms of support. Despite these efforts, our interactions never reflected a relationship of mutual love and respect. Now, I choose to embark on a different path in life. This decision is not about abandoning the family, but rather choosing my own life. I kindly ask that you refrain from any further contact. Goodbye. After transmitting the message, I swiftly exited the group and proceeded to block all family members' contacts on my devices. While there was indeed a deep-seated pain in my chest, it was unmistakably the pain of embarking on a new beginning. I was no longer shackled by someone else's expectations or demands. A week later, while busily preparing for a new project at work, Ben approached my desk with concern. "Heather, are you okay?" I responded with a genuine smile and said, "Yes, actually, I feel refreshed. Now I can truly move forward." 3 months after severing ties with my family, I came to learn of significant changes in the lives of my parents and sister through updates shared by Ben, who had gathered information from a mutual acquaintance. Abby, stripped of the financial support I once provided, found herself unable to sustain her previously lavish lifestyle. She resorted to selling her designer clothes and bags, and was compelled to relocate to a more affordable apartment in the suburbs. Her typically flamboyant posts on social media came to a halt, and in a twist of fate, she took on employment at a grocery store, marking her first genuine job. Meanwhile, my parents also confronted substantial life alterations. My father, faced with the necessity to reassess his retirement plans, along with my mother, started taking on part-time jobs to make ends meet. The most shocking development was the deterioration of the relationship between Abby and our parents. "It's your fault that Heather left." My mother blamed Abby, deepening the family rift. Abby ended up moving out from our parents' home, and now they barely meet once a month. On the other hand, my father seems to regret our estrangement. According to Ben, he was occasionally seen lingering outside my company's building, though he never ventured inside. My mother, seeking some form of solace and understanding, began attending community counseling sessions and started to come to terms with their past mistakes. She has even confessed to neighbors. "We treated our daughter like a cash cow," acknowledging their misguided actions. Ironically, this painful separation might have been a necessary catalyst for change for them as well. Abby was forced to confront true independence for the first time, and my parents had to contemplate a more pragmatic approach to their lifestyle. Although it may have been a painful change, it was likely a necessary process for their growth. While I do not directly confirm their current status, through sporadic pieces of information, I sense that they, too, are gradually beginning to forge new paths in their lives. It's not an easy journey, but at least they have broken free from our previously unhealthy mutual dependency. I have no regrets about my decisions. In fact, I am convinced that I made the right choice. I now feel a profound sense of liberation from my family. This liberation is akin to being released from a burdensome yoke that had weighed heavily upon me for years. However, nestled deep within me, there lingers a slight unease. Should I really continue to maintain this severance from my family? Was my decision truly the correct one? Such questions occasionally flutter through my thoughts. But I promptly quash these doubts. I have ceased sacrificing my well-being for the sake of my family. From this point forward, I am resolved to pursue a life focused solely on my own happiness. The resignation letter I was holding was gleaming white in the morning sun. I had made the decision to leave the insurance company where I had worked for 30 years. The significance of this decision quietly stirred my heart. Is this really okay? As I was organizing my desk, a younger colleague of mine, whose face was filled with concern, approached me. She was a subordinate whom I had cherished since she was a new employee. "Yes, I've made up my mind," I smiled calmly. The 30 years I spent at this company. I remember the day I joined at 22 as if it were yesterday. I joined this company filled with hope. The following 30 years were truly days of tumultuous changes. As the wave of digitization surged, the insurance industry underwent significant transformations. Paper files were replaced by databases, and face-to-face contracts transitioned to online. I adapted to numerous regulatory reforms and overcame the turbulent waves of corporate mergers. Through these processes, I too grew. I shifted from a general position to a comprehensive one, became a team leader, and finally ascended to become the first female sales manager. It was never an easy journey. There were days I worked until late at night, nights I remade documents while shedding tears, and times I fought against discrimination. However, all these experiences shaped who I am today. Many people say it's too early to retire at 52. Certainly, I could have aimed higher in my career, but my heart was already moving towards the next stage. When asked why now, I showed them a photo of my parents. Their smiling faces, now in their mid-70s. Behind those smiles, I could clearly see certain things. The way my father's steps were becoming less certain, how my mother's fatigue was deepening day by day. The old family home has become too much of a burden for them. Steep stairs, narrow corridors, and an inconvenient bathroom. All of these were becoming shackles for my aging parents. I'm thinking of remodeling the house. When I conveyed my intention to retire, the president stared into my eyes. Losing someone as capable as you is a great loss for the company. However, I respect your decision. His words warmed my heart. The time I spent at the company was never wasted. Rather, it has become a significant asset supporting my current decision. With my severance pay, I plan to completely remodel my parents' home and live with them. The house my parents live in was originally built by my grandparents. I own it, having inherited it as an estate, but it was far from my workplace, so my parents were living there. When I discussed the remodeling plans, my husband immediately agreed. He is a mild-mannered engineer who loves my parents as if they were his own. On holidays, he plays chess with my father and genuinely praises my mother's cooking. His kindness further supported my decision. I want to cherish the time with my parents. I want to make their remaining days as happy as possible. This desire was born from pure love. I will use everything I learned at the company for my family now. My career is moving to a new stage. The estimate for the remodeling work arrived 2 weeks after my retirement. The moment I opened the envelope, I was stunned by the amount, which was much higher than expected. It seems that transforming a 40-year-old wooden house into a modern living space costs more than imagined. As my husband and I reviewed the estimate, we read through each item. Foundation work, seismic reinforcement, replacing insulation, making it barrier-free, completely renewing the water facilities. All of these were essential renovations. The architect explained everything carefully. Considering your parents' age, the design should be adaptable for future caregiving. We're planning to widen the corridors, eliminate steps, and consider locations for handrails. Indeed, that was necessary. Even though my parents are healthy now, they might need care someday. We need to prepare thoroughly now for that time. Most of our retirement pay will be used up, won't it? My husband's words made me feel a bit sad. Originally, we thought about using the retirement pay for a trip around the world. But now, there's something more important. That's fine. This is an investment in the future of our entire family. The construction began in May. First, we had to clear out all the items in the house. During that time, my parents stayed at our place. We would have breakfast together, my mother would help with dinner preparations, and my father would play chess with my husband while watching TV. Such ordinary daily life inflated my expectations for a new lifestyle. I'm really sorry. It must be such an inconvenience for you. As she spoke, my mother was washing dishes in the kitchen. I embraced her shoulders from behind. Mom, it's not an inconvenience at all. In fact, I'm happy we can spend this time together. The construction proceeded as planned. Old walls were removed, new pillars were erected, and floors were replaced. Every weekend, we went to check on the progress of the construction. However, there was one thing that concerned me: my brother's behavior. Since the construction began, he had started visiting the site unusually often. Not just on weekends, but I would also see him there on weekday evenings. He would intently look over the blueprints and ask questions to the workers. At first glance, it seemed like the natural behavior of a son concerned about his family home. But something felt off. He has seemed different lately. One day, I decided to bring it up with my mother. Her expression seemed to cloud over for a moment. Well, there are various things going on. She didn't elaborate further, but it was clear that something was happening. I had a chance to meet my brother's wife, Kathy, and she also seemed to be hiding something. By the 3rd month, the construction was taking shape. A bright, open living room, wide corridors easy to navigate with a wheelchair, and a bathroom with handrails. We planned to set up my parents' bedroom on the 1st floor and use the 2nd floor for ourselves. The workmanship is wonderful, said the architect, looking pleased. Indeed, the finish was better than expected. Yet somehow a corner of my heart remained uneasy. My brother's behavior, the subtle changes in my parents' demeanor, the words Kathy almost said. Only 2 more weeks until the house renovation is completed. While my heart swelled with dreams of a new life with my parents, a nagging unease that I was overlooking something important wouldn't leave me. At night, I confided in my husband in our bedroom. "I feel a bit uneasy." He closed his book and looked at me seriously. "I've been concerned too. The recent behavior of your brother. It seems like he's up to something." His words turned my unease into conviction. But surely I wanted to believe my family wouldn't betray me. In August, the remodeling was completed. The architect, satisfied with the final inspection, handed me the keys. "The finish is excellent. I'm sure you'll make wonderful memories here," he said. As I listened to his words, I walked through the newly renovated house. Bright sunlight streamed through the large windows, softly illuminating the white walls. The spacious living room was laid with warm flooring chosen by my parents, and the kitchen was equipped with fixtures thoughtfully designed for my mother's use. Most of our retirement fund had been invested, but it was well worth it. We should be able to move in next weekend. I discussed with my husband as we toured the rooms, talking about our future life. My parents liked the new home, especially my mother, who was looking forward to cooking in the new kitchen. However, this peaceful expectation would crumble in just one day. The next afternoon, when I went to the house for a final check, I saw an unfamiliar large truck parked in front of the house from a distance. As I approached, I realized it was a moving company's truck. That's strange. Our move isn't scheduled until later. When my husband parked the car on the shoulder, I also noticed my brother's black SUV. A foreboding feeling ran through me. As I walked towards the entrance, passing workers carrying in cardboard boxes, I opened the door to an unexpected scene. My brother's wife, Kathy, was organizing boxes. Unfamiliar furniture was already placed in the living room, and her preferred kitchen tools lined the kitchen. "Oh, Kathy." Kathy noticed me and made a troubled yet slightly defiant expression. Her appearance, with a high-end brand bag slung over her shoulder and perfect makeup, was like she owned the place. "What is going on here?" My words trailed off as my mother came down the stairs. Her usually gentle eyes now harbored an unfamiliar coldness. "I'm sorry, but they have nowhere else to go." Her voice sounded more like justification than apology. My brother's suspicious behavior, my parents' evasive attitudes, Kathy's half-spoken words. All the pieces fell into a terrifying puzzle. Wait. This is my house. My retirement fund. No, that's not right. My mother's voice resonated unusually strongly. This is our family's home. It's just the 2 of you, but your brother has children, and besides. She stepped closer and lowered her voice. You are still young, so you can save up again. Your brother doesn't have that kind of time. At that moment, something inside me froze. The calm I had cultivated over 30 years of corporate life shattered in an instant. My brother descended the stairs and declared with a domineering tone, "It's already decided. Dad and I have settled it." "What do you mean?" Turning around, I saw my father standing with documents in hand. "The transfer of ownership is already complete, without your consent." His voice had the coldness of reprimanding subordinates at the company. "But that's illegal. Legalities don't apply to family matters. And," my father smirked, "I can prepare your signature anytime I need." At those words, I felt the blood drain from my face. They forged my signature. I couldn't believe they would go that far. "Mother, this is fraud," my husband said quietly yet firmly. "Legally, the owner of this house is—" "Shut up," my brother shouted angrily. "You wouldn't understand. I have a responsibility to support my family. I don't have a carefree life like yours." Kathy smirked meaningfully as she took out her smartphone. "I can shoot cooking videos that will look great on Instagram in the new kitchen. My followers will love it. The life I dreamed of with my family was crumbling before my eyes. In its place, a scene filled with arrogance and greed was unfolding. Get out. My voice was colder than I expected. Leave this house right now. My mother laughed nervously, trying to smooth things over. Now, don't get so worked up. All of this is for your benefit. For my benefit. I couldn't help but laugh. For 30 years, I've worked desperately at the company. Overtime, working on holidays, promotion exams. I dreamed of a new life with the retirement pay I finally received. But you, if it's about money. My brother pulled out several $100 bills from his wallet. Isn't this enough? Isn't your feeling worth just this much? His arrogant attitude made me lose my last bit of reason. The movers continued to bring in their belongings indifferently to the family drama unfolding. I took out my mobile phone, my hand trembling. I'm calling the police. My husband put his hand on my shoulder. His warmth was barely keeping me together. Wait! My mother waved her hands frantically. If the neighbors find out about the police, if you cared about the neighbors' eyes, you shouldn't have illegally entered someone else's home in the first place. My father stepped forward and lowered his voice. Think about it. Who should live in this house, you and your husband, or your brother and his family with the grandchildren? Which makes more sense? His words carried the authority of a father who had held sway for years, but that no longer worked on me. Make sense? How does trampling over my life make sense? I took out my mobile phone and dialed 911. Wait! My mother's scream echoed. You are no longer a member of this family. So I finally hear the truth. As I made the call, I stared back at my mother. So this is your true face. As I started to hear the sirens of a police car approaching, the expressions on my family's faces changed. I felt the illusion of 30 years crumbling down with a crash. 2 weeks after the betrayal was uncovered, I spent sleepless nights. Whenever I closed my eyes, the scenes from that day replayed. My parents' words, my brother's shouts, Kathy's challenging expression, and their belongings brought in one after another. It's just a temporary measure. That was what my parents claimed. They said that my brother and his wife were facing a crisis in their marriage and were financially strained. Therefore, they wanted to let them stay temporarily in the new house. However, their behavior did not seem temporary. That's clearly wrong. Megan, my best friend, said with a stern expression as we sat in our usual cafe. She has known me since our days at the insurance company, and she knows everything about my 30-year career and my family relations. It's the retirement pay you worked 30 years for. It's essentially your entire life. Megan's words were sharp, yet they precisely struck my heart. Indeed, that house is not just any building. It represents the culmination of my 30 years of labor and my hope for a new life with my parents. Growing up, our family was never wealthy, but we always had a caring heart for each other. At least, that's what I believed. This isn't about love. Megan gripped my hand tightly. It's a fraud. Your kindness is being exploited. You should take legal action. That night, I had a long discussion with my husband. I understand how you feel, he said, holding my shoulder. But if we stay silent, your life will be ruined. Our lives will be ruined. The next morning, I made up my mind. I booked an appointment with Mr. Simpson, a real estate lawyer. His office was located on the 15th floor of a skyscraper in New York City. On the solid wooden desk, records from the past 2 months were spread out chronologically. Let's organize your case, Mr. Simpson said as he adjusted his silver-rimmed glasses, carefully verifying each fact one by one. First, your retirement pay from 30 years of service. What's the exact amount? $320,000. The moment I uttered that number, the weight of 30 years welled up inside me. Overtime, working on holidays, studying for promotions. All my efforts were condensed into that amount. Mr. Simpson pulled a contract from a blue file. The document, signed 3 months ago, was still new, and their unlawful occupation, the illegal residency of your brother's family, plus the forgery of your signature. He calmly analyzed each fact. Having over 30 years of experience as a lawyer, Mr. Simpson himself brought a sense of reassurance. In conclusion, he took off his glasses and looked directly at me. Their claims have no legal basis. Rather, this is a case that could potentially lead to criminal charges for fraudulent behavior. At those words, I involuntarily gasped. Criminal charges against my parents. Yes. Attempting to deceive you out of a significant asset like a residence is a clear crime. However, Mr. Simpson continued quietly while looking out the window. Let's keep that as a last resort. First, we aim to resolve this in a civil way. That evening, I received a briefing on the specific legal procedures. The first step was to stop their unjust occupation with a preliminary injunction. Following that was a lawsuit to confirm the ownership of the house. Depending on the situation, we might also consider claims for emotional distress. It will take about 2 weeks to prepare. Document creation, evidence organization, submission to the court. Mr. Simpson chose his words carefully. During that time, is there a chance they might leave voluntarily? I responded with a wry smile. Unlikely. If anything, they'll entrench themselves further, especially my brother. My prediction was spot on. The day after we filed the petition for a preliminary injunction, an infuriated call came from my brother. Are you suing your own family? His voice was trembling. With anger or perhaps fear. If your family, why did you try to take my house? I have a family too. Kids. You wouldn't understand. His words brought all the anger I had harbored for 30 years to the surface. Right. I don't understand. I don't understand trampling over someone else's life. For 30 years, brother, I worked hard and saved that retirement pay, and with it, the life of 30 years, I remodeled that house. After hanging up the phone, my hands were shaking. Tears streamed down my cheeks, but there was no turning back. The hearing at the court was set for the end of September. In the dim courtroom of the New York District Court, I faced my family. My mother was dressed in black, crying throughout. Why would you do something so terrible? My mother appealed to familial affection and occasionally sobbed quietly. My father, sitting upright, emphasized the moral perspective. Parent-child bonds should not be like this. My brother cited financial hardship and brought up his children's future. However, the judge's demeanor was composed throughout the trial. She was a middle-aged female judge who occasionally took notes while methodically advancing the proceedings. I will judge from a legal perspective. At those words, I could feel my family's emotional arguments crumbling one after another. The examination of evidence proceeded swiftly. Records of the pension transfer, the original contract, and numerous threatening messages they had sent. Each piece of evidence was clearly recognized. As October began, we awaited the verdict. Meanwhile, the pressure from my family continued. There were phone calls trying to persuade me from my father's brother. There were letters of criticism from relatives on my mother's side. Rumors were spreading around the neighborhood, and at times, we even received direct threats. If you go on like this, you will regret it, my father's message said, devoid of any previous warmth. Do you intend to leave your family destitute? I never thought you were so heartless. My mother's message on Messenger contained the usual conviction that they were in the right. During the 2 weeks waiting for the verdict, I questioned my decision every night. Even the decisiveness cultivated over 30 years of corporate life sometimes wavered when faced with family issues. But thankfully, my husband was always on my side. Every time he came home from work and saw me troubled, he repeated the same words. You're doing the right thing. Just because they're family, it doesn't mean you have to accept unreasonable demands. That's not love or devotion, it's just abusive control. Then, on the morning of October 15th, I received a call from Mr. Simpson. The verdict has been delivered. His voice conveyed a sure sense of resolution. On my way to his office, the sky was covered with gray clouds, and a cold autumn wind was blowing. As I stepped into the elevator, I took a deep breath. This verdict would forever change the relationship with my family. But perhaps it was an inevitable conclusion. 3 months after the verdict, in January 2025, I stood on the planned site of my new home. In a quiet suburban residential area, a huge land located a 15-minute walk from the station. Nearby, there was a 24-hour supermarket, and a lush park was within walking distance. "It looks like we can start a new life here," I murmured as my husband and I surveyed the vacant land. Just then, I noticed a familiar name on my smartphone screen. It was a message from my mother. "We need to talk. We can't pay the rent for the public housing we're living in." I sighed. 3 months after being forced to leave, my parents' and brother's living conditions were more dire than I had imagined. They had to live on the 4th floor of a municipal apartment building. The elevator had been out of order and left unfixed, and shopping required a 30-minute walk up a hillside path. My mother had interviewed for a part-time job at a nearby supermarket, but was rejected due to her age. Eventually, she could only manage to earn about $500 a month by distributing flyers. Recently, I heard from a former colleague of my father's that he visited the job center almost daily. However, there are hardly any companies willing to hire someone in their 70s. He was also turned down for a security guard job due to concerns about his physical strength. Messages from my mother kept coming regularly, but eventually stopped when I ignored them. Last week, I saw her by chance at the supermarket. She was rummaging through the discount bin for food close to its expiration date, a stark contrast to her former demeanor. When she spotted me, she quickly disappeared into another aisle. Her cart was piled with discounted food items. "About your parents," Megan told me some neighborhood gossip. "My parents couldn't live on their pension alone and were considering applying for welfare. They spend their nights in the dark to save on electricity bills," she said. My brother's downfall was even worse. His divorce from Kathy was finalized, and he was behind on child support payments. He was facing wage garnishment due to multiple credit card debts. Your brother was even fired from his convenience store job. Megan's information network was accurate. Apparently, he had been working the night shift at the register and was fired for being repeatedly late. Unable to find a new job, he was living reclusively at our parents' place. "Please, can you lend me just $500? My brother's calls were still mostly about asking for money. His voice was exhausted, and his once arrogant demeanor had faded. We're not in that kind of relationship anymore. When I hung up the phone, something pained me deep inside. But this was the path they had chosen. While looking at the blueprints for the new house, I had many meetings with the architect. A 2-story house, with 4 individual rooms for international students on the first floor and a shared space. The second floor would be our living space. My husband's proposal for a multicultural exchange type of a shared house opened the door to a new life. The new house was completed in April. Bright sunlight poured into the living room, with its warm wooden floors and spacious kitchen. Everything was ready to welcome a new family. 1 month after starting our new life, living with the international students was more fulfilling than I had expected. Anna's Pella, Wang's talks about architecture, Junko's Japanese paintings, and Pedro's entrepreneurial ideas. The dining table was filled with smiles and conversations. New family. I was gradually beginning to understand what that meant. Blood relations do not necessarily guarantee bonds. What matters is the heart that cares for each other. That doesn't necessarily mean always forgiving. Now, my home is filled with the smiles of young people. There is the kindness of my husband. And there is new hope. I sometimes think of the hardships faced by my parents and brother, but that is the path they chose. And I am walking my own path. The words "Welcome to our home" displayed at the entrance shine in the morning sun, as if heralding the start of a new season.